Thank you everyone for being here. We have a group of very interesting people coming from the government. This is the opening panel. And the first one is Gustavo Alonso Cabrera Rodríguez from Mexico. He's the Director General for Technical and Scientific Cooperation. And he's going to tell us a little bit what Mexico is doing in artificial intelligence. The next one is Vitor Elisio Menezes. He's the Secretary of Telecommunications of Brazil. And Vitor has been very active in technology for many years. He's now the Secretary, as I said, of Telecommunications of the Ministry of Science, Technology, Innovation, and Communications. He's a specialist in regulation from the National Agency for Telecommunications. He was first a regulator, and he became part of the government. And he has held several positions as advisor to the president and the superintendent. He's a lawyer with advanced regulation. He's a lawyer and postgraduate in advanced regulation of public telecommunication services and in administrative law and public management. The next person is from Panama, Luis? Yep. Luis del Vasto Terrientes. He's from Panama, and Luis is the Director of Information Sciences at the Government Innovation Agency. And he holds a bachelor degree in software development and in 2008 from the Technological University of Panama. The next person is José Antonio Guridi Bustos from the Minister of Science, Technology, Knowledge, and Innovation of the Government of Chile. And José Antonio is advisor at the future team in the Chilean Ministry of Science, Technology, Knowledge, and Innovation. And he's currently coordinating a working plan to create an artificial intelligence Chilean policy and an action plan. And he previously worked at the Ministry of Economy. The next person is Diego Hernández, who is the Deputy Minister for Knowledge, Innovation, and Productivity of the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation of Colombia. And Diego is also an academic. He's a specialist in regulation from the National Agency of Telecommunications. And he has a close advisor of the presidency also. And the last one is Leslie, and last but not least, is Leslie Sandra Zerna, who is the head of research, innovation, and development of Bolivia. And Leslie has been very active in the e-government and ICTs. In Bolivia, she's an AI educator. And also she was part or is part of the Google Developer Expert program in machine learning. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for taking the time to come to Boston with this beautiful cold weather that we have. Very similar of yours. I'm going to ask, we're going to start with Gustavo, please, to give us like 2-minute presentation of what is the general view of Mexico into artificial intelligence.
Okay, Marco, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I read in the speech, my English is not very good. Well, understand it's maybe difficult. Well, artificial intelligence is the most transformative, immediate, profound, and irreversible global force ever created. It has the potential to alter virtually all areas of human life and encompass the entire generation of new technologies and the innovative process. It offers great opportunities to increase social well-being and ensure sustainable development, but it also brings important challenges and dangers. This requires guiding it to common good and to create and establish global standards on ethics of artificial intelligence and its humanist management. The term AI is often used to denote systems of machine learning. AI is basically a prediction technology based on rapid arithmetic calculation. It's depending more and more in all human activities, including privacy. The operation of AI systems is increasingly compensable by humans. The digital platforms, the use of the cloud, and these many applications are sponsoring the increase in the self-learning of machines and their importance for the economy and society. All these is the unescapable foundation of greater artificial intelligence, but also of their distancing from the domain and comprehensibility on the part of man. Equally, such machines can be caught with irreversible information processing, reduction, and absurd, or they may be unable to solve the problem of changing threats of reality and common sense problems. This type of limitations explains why I still do not understand visual image of the real world. It's difficult for them to define and manage the necessary frameworks for processing and information tells. Well, socioeconomic significance for artificial intelligence. The application of artificial intelligence are increasingly widespread among specific sectors, regions, and activities. Its main evolution is the hands of the market, business needs, and geopolitical dynamics. The most business apply them the topics as varied as robot management, equipment optimization, marketing, facial recognition, language translation, gaming and entertainment, personal management, lab dating, reduction administrative expense, legal analysis, maximization of utility, etc., etc., etc.
Gustavo, can you, we have just 2 minutes for each of you to give can you just give us pretty quick what Mexico is trying to do in?
Well, Mexico have a new government, a new style government. I have a goals of important for the people and community. The first time is I need go to all country for the net, the internet for all people. Urban people and rural people is the first the first goal. Second is accessibility for the technologies for our people. This is a principal strategic of new government.
Thank you so much. Vitor?
Morning, everyone. Oh, I have
That's
one.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco, for inviting me, for inviting Brazil to be here. It's a pleasure for us sharing about some action that the government Brazilian is doing right now. In 2018, we launched the National Strategy for Digital Transformation in Brazil. And one of these topics is the AI. So we are working on a strategy for AI in Brazil just right now. We have a public consultation running, and we have several themes in discussion, like legislation and ethics, AI in economy, AI in education, international dimension, AI in the public sector, R&D and innovation and entrepreneurship, and something like that, AI in the government. It's very important for us. So we are very open to this issue in Brazil because we are a very big country with big problems and different solutions. And we think that AI is very important for us right now. So we are very optimistic about this new technology. And this panel is very important to us to hear from you and share some information about what we are doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Luis?
Okay. Hello. First of all, thank you for inviting us in order to share experiences and basically what we can do better in our countries in terms of AI. In Panama, we have a huge challenge. Basically, we are following the suggestions of the OECD that we need what is called the Chief Data Officer. We need to define the strategies that we are going to set for the next decades. And we haven't taken the AI at least at the public sector in the way it should be done. So what we want to do from the government is to start this strategy, including academy, of course, and also the private sector. Just coming here is the first demonstrations about what what we want to do from the government in Panama. So first of all, thank you for inviting us to be here.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, José Antonio.
First, thanks for the invitation. In Chile, we are working on our AI policy since last year. Our AI policy wants to have an optimistic view, to face all these fears that exist, but also to take advantage of all the positive things that can come from AI. And since we want to have this optimistic but responsible view, we are building a strategy that has three main axes that are, first, we want to analyze the enabling factors of the technology and what gaps Chile do have to overcome, and also how we can take advantage of unique things that are happening in Chile. Also, we have to see how ethics and legal aspects and social impact can affect the development of AI, and how can we make people part of the conversation about ethics, mainly because until now Latin America has been a little bit out of that conversation, and it is very important. And for that, we are also having a very open and broad participatory process where we want people to empower themselves to give their opinions about what they want from AI to improve Chile's development. And also we have a third topic, that's the market of AI. It's how we have different people that making very good research in Chile, that there are many firms that are generating AI-based solutions, and we have a broad demand, both from the state, from the academia, and from industry. So we have to see how this ecosystem can be built, and how can we empower that ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Diego?
Thank you, Marco. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for invitations to this panel. I came from Colombia, and Colombia actual government started last year, 2018, and the president of Colombia is very young man, and he knows very well the importance of the technology and the digital transformation for Colombia. And he established the National Development Plan, that is the Path for Colombia, Path for Equity, and in that pact established two goals. One of them is the path for the science, technology, and innovation, and the second one is the pact for the transformation digital in Colombia. The first one has very, very good goals. The first goal is to increase the investment in the science and technology and innovations according with the percentage of the GDP. And the second one is to obtain the connections for all of the country, for the people, and mainly in the rural area, because in this moment, only approximately 5 million of the families are connected or have connection. The goal is to increase during these 4 years until 11 million of the family, mainly in the rural areas. According with the path for the transformation digital, Colombia implemented since last year the politics of the transformation digital, and the idea is not only to connect, but also increase the high level of the people. For that reason, we are motivated to increase the number of the fellowship for the people that are interested in the study in this kind of topic. I believe it's necessary to increase the capacity of the universities, companies, but also of the human capital. That is the main goal of the government in Colombia for these 4 years.
Thank you, Diego. Leslie?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, thank you so much for the invitation. Good morning, everyone. I'm coming from Bolivia. I'm very excited to be here as part of my government. And for the last years, I've been part of different AI communities. We have been aimed to teach and to share experiences about AI-based solutions, but currently working as a government as head of innovation and research and development for the Electronic Government Agency. We are very eager to start working in our AI strategy. So far, we have been opening tables for discussions with different sectors, mainly private, university, either university, private university, public university, some entrepreneurs. And it's very interesting to see how the ecosystem is working on in Bolivia, with different people learning and working by themselves and trying to get more open data. And as government, we are working on that right now to try to open more spaces where we can make these kind of conversations with these people, and also as government to start supporting them.
Thank you. This is what I understand from everyone is that artificial intelligence is important for your government. Now, if that is true, what is actually the most important area that you think you can do something relevant for artificial intelligence for the country? Could be policy, politics, healthcare, infrastructure, education. Where are you going to be focusing, or where are you focusing mainly?
Yeah, the all times is important for Mexico. Well, and the first time is infrastructure. The north of country, well, the neighbors, USA, is the high technology infrastructure. I need more compatibility with industry and technology in the north of country. The problem is in the southern and south of country. Is the neighbor Central America is low technical infrastructure. I not have combination and the region. Mexico have two zones. The north is very important for the communication, economical, and the south is a culture important, while the technology is low. I need more infrastructure for the north. Well, the education is a big problem. The industry for activities is private activities, and the academic and university is another style of goals. I need combination same activities for the next step.
Yeah, before I go to you, Vitor, anybody wants to, I would like to know what the government is trying to do in education, because we saw that one of the main problems, everyone talk about education, what is the main problem is that people understand artificial intelligence, computer science, programming, all that, because people are afraid of what we have heard, that people are afraid of artificial intelligence and the coming of the robots and take their jobs. But is this a problem of education? If it's a problem of education, what are your governments doing in education? I don't know, go with you, Leslie, then and go back, because I don't want you to be the last one always.
Well, as I mentioned, we are starting to get closer to the different AI-based communities. And the work they have been doing so far is to educate people on basis on data science, on basis on machine learning. I think that's a very important part. We are starting to develop this kind of closeness, the strategy to the people, in the sense to teach about programming and the basics. But also, I think English is kind of a barrier for many people. Even we have good professionals and they have like oral and written skills. English is still learning new stuff is a barrier. But going back to the first question, I think one important thing, as we mentioned, is education for our people, but also to open kind of AI market so they can develop more their skills there as well, and to contribute to my country, to Bolivia, or across the region. I think that's very important. As well as data. We have talking about data. We need lots of data, open data. So to understand better what's happening in the country, where we need to focus more, what entrepreneurs can do with the information we are gathering for data to help our country or better our region.
Vitor?
I think education is a very important issue for us. We are studying right now what we have to do to create buildings between universities and in the industry. In Brazil, we have a lot of vacancy in universities for technical courses, but unfortunately, more than 30% of the people who enter in the university go to the market. So it's very important for us get better marks in this issue, because we think that without education, we're never going to be AI ready. And in Brazil, we have, like you mentioned, people are afraid about AI. People don't know, the people don't know everything about these rights or how to get to the market to work with this. So we have to create technical courses. I think we have to invest in capacity reskilling, and we are studying right now what exactly we have to do. We already know that we have some evaluation of the universities in Brazil, so we already know that which courses, which universities we have to invest to improve these grades in technical courses, for example. So it's a big challenge for us, and we are working on this.
And Gustavo said also infrastructure is fundamental, because if in all our countries we have problems with connectivity, maybe. I don't know, maybe Brazil is huge. Brazil is huge, but maybe you have some places that nothing comes in. Actually, I was in Cerrado in July, and the closest phone was 2 hours from where I was staying.
In the countryside, we have
a little bit difficult to communicate. It was fantastic, but because I didn't get any call, any email from MIT, it was perfect. But anyway, I think infrastructure is also a problem. But what about Colombia, for example?
Yes, Colombia also, the infrastructure is the main problem, the connectivity. And the second, the human capital. Let me tell everyone, last year, the Colombian government established a commission for the SPER, 45 persons that build recommendations for science and technology and innovation and education for the next decade. And the main recommendation of them is the education, but with the boys, since 5 years old of the people. If we don't start to improve the education, integral education, since the boys, we don't have in the future better conditions. For that reason, they recommend that we need to give them skills for STEM, mainly, for everyone, maths, science, biology, physics, chemistry, because that is the main structure for the people. And the second one, humanities, because the technology will be used for human being. For that reason, they recommended that we need to establish priorities for the boys in this moment. Also, it's very important to increase the investment, but it's necessary to focus in the boys. The second is the private sector is necessary to involve in these policies, because if you don't work together, private sector, public sector, universities, everyone, that will be difficult to implement the policy.
Yeah, and in Panama, for example, education, how do you see education? Because what Diego was saying is actually and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe the educational system is really bad around the world, because once I was in Brazil and someone was telling me, actually in Colombia, someone was telling me, what do you think about all these kids using their phones when they go to class, they don't pay attention to the professor, to the teacher? And I say, because your classes maybe are boring, because if your classes are boring, the students are going to be using the phone. But is the educational system ready for what we are moving right now? What is happening in Panama?
In terms of artificial intelligence, I think that we lack a lot. However, there are some first steps that I have seen the last year. I returned back to Panama like a year and a half, and what I have seen so far is not that bad. I can see that we can be optimistic about what we can do in the short term. For instance, 5 resources from the agency are going to pursue a diploma in data science. So Basically, right now we are making stronger this ecosystem and including the education in order to be AI ready. Right now, we can do is just to define the strategies and the base for the next year. But I know, I won't lie, right now, this is not possible because we don't have the human resources, but we have to start working. And what I can see right now is that there are also independent movements inside Panama that are trying to not study this as an empirical science. So I think that in 1 or 2 years, if we continue this path, we can start teaching properly in our universities data science, artificial intelligence, on all the subjects and subdisciplines related to AI, which is a lot of subdisciplines.
Thank you, Luis. José Antonio, how is this in Chile? Like, are you focusing on education in high-level education, like universities, or are you PK to 12, or is there any policy?
Well, inside our AI policy, we have this enabling factors axis, and inside it, we have human capital. Also, we have infrastructure and we have data. We think that those are the 3 enabling factors for the technology. And in the case of human capital, we are thinking on it on a very broad way. We think that we have to have experts, and we are, for example, focusing our scholarships on AI for PhDs and masters. But we also think we have to increase AI literacy in the whole population, since the vision of our policy is to empower Chileans not only in the development and use of AI, but also to be able to be part of the discussion on AI. So, for example, one of the things we are doing to create our AI policy is to have regional workshops with people. They are open workshops where people can go and can be first informed and then discuss about the policy. So we think that the participation process is very important also in the education part. And another thing that in the different discussions has emerged is that there's a need for like a middle person between industry and academia. A lot of times the problem for the AI market is that industry, at least in Chile, industry and academia don't talk. They don't understand each other because academia is focused on just working and getting revenue, and they can't see their problems, and academia is not able to tell them how they can think in the long term a couple of times. So one need that has emerged is that to have these professionals that are in the middle and can understand both academia and both the industry. And also we think that at the first level and education in schools is very important. Our Ministry of Education is having a first plan that's called digital languages that are teaching children to code. And we are working on different initiatives that are heading that way also.
Right now we are living maybe one of the most drastic income inequality division in the world. And is it any, you feel in the population in each of your countries, you feel that the people are ahead of the government, like pushing the government, they feel the urgency to do something in creating new systems of education to include the people into the new labor systems, or that they want a better education? What is happening? Because the biggest problem in the world right now is the people that have the knowledge and the people that do not have knowledge. But then if the people that have knowledge, you have also another division, people that understand programming, computer science, artificial intelligence, and people that do not have an idea what is that thing. What are your top priorities? Like, if you need to do something now, because if the government is still waiting to create policy, and we are just trying here and there and listening to different people's opinions, but we don't create a policy that creates clarity and transparency of whatever we are going or wherever we want to go, I don't think it's you are going to move fast enough, or we are going to move fast enough. And then China and the US are going to control the knowledge on artificial intelligence. What are the things that you think needs to happen right now in your country move your country forward into this new economy that is based in digital intelligence. Leslie.
Oh, all right. Well, right now, I think it's very important on education, as you mentioned. We need to start working on people, and I do agree the priority should be also children, for them to learn.
But this is discussed by the Minister of Education and the Minister of Labor or the President or in the Congress. Is this like the urgency that is happening is already discussed? Because you are very well educated, you have been traveling all over, you work with Google, the biggest company in the world maybe in artificial intelligence, but is this something that you feel the government understands the urgency and the need?
I think currently they are aware, as a government, we are aware there's an urgency. As you mentioned, people are ahead in the sense that I've been working with different AI communities, and we are like more aware that we need to learn this and we need to apply and we need to start building stuff with entrepreneurs, and we have to start bothering the government that we need some policies and start working on that. That's why I kind of feel like some urgency is to work across regions. So to have, for example, researcher Bolivians going to Colombia to start working and developing stuff there, and some Chilean people coming to Bolivia and start teaching people there or start working, you know, as a whole region, because as independent countries, it's going to be harder to go against or beyond those other countries. I think that's going to be the urgency. But the good thing is now that different governments in Latin America, they feel the urgency to do something, even digital, or just go into electronic government, or just start talking about ethics, or just start, you know, getting people ready for what's the next revolution there.
That's really important, the ethics. Vitor, what is happening in Brazil?
About, I think we have to discuss more about infrastructure, just a little bit, because Brazil is a very huge country. One municipality in Brazil is bigger than whole Portugal, for example. So we have more or less 70% of the population connected already. So, but we have the countryside, the Cerrado, for example, the Amazon River region in the Amazon without connectivity. So we cannot talk about AI without connectivity, without internet, without access for everyone. So, but I think that in 2 or 3 or maximum 4 years, we will reach almost 99% of the population connected. We are working on this just right now. And then, but we cannot wait 4 or 5 years to start do something about AI in Brazil. You ask about if the population is pushing the government. I think it's not running in Brazil. I think most of the population, unfortunately, doesn't know about AI. But we are concerned about this, and we are working and bring AI to the government, AI to the entrepreneurship, AI to the competitiveness, AI to the healthcare, AI to the public service. So we are working on this. We have several areas, different areas working, and specific plans in Brazil. But it's very important, the topic about education. Like the Chile says, we have to invest on children and code language, talk about this. And I have 3 children. The oldest is 3 years old. And I think this is very different for them, that for me. So we have to invest in education, in basic education, and the university as well. In Brazil, we have some programs to improve this education for children about this. And we have some studies, not programs yet, about how to solve this problem. But we have to run. That's very urgency for us.
Yes, and this is something that Leslie was talking, and everyone talked a little bit about ethics and humanities, because at the end, technology is what the human creates, no? And if the human doesn't have a very strong basics in humanities, in ethics, yes, they're going to create technology that is not going to be serving the humans, but serving the machine maybe. And that's why policy is fundamental. and it's fundamental education. And I think more than STEM, I will be teaching very, very strong reading and history and literature and I don't know, things that are very human. And then with that thought behind you always of humanity, then create the technology. Is that something that can be created through policy? Or it is not, or this is something that needs to be educated through the television or with radio, or not even television, because like my 16-year-old doesn't see television anymore. He just is in the computer, actually in the iPad or the iPhone. But how are we going to teach the next generation of coders or programmers or the people that create artificial intelligence? Is this a policy thing? Is this happening anywhere? It's what is happening in Mexico, for example.
Yeah, the Mexico and Brazil is a big country. Mexican people is plus 100 million people, and the 50% is poor poverty. This is the big problem. Well, this government first goal is access, all people access for education, public education, well, basic, and another access to basic elements, communication, technology. This government is construction for 100 universities in our country, new universities, while the access, universal access for all people is guaranteed. How this action is very important and impact all the Latin American. I need more cooperation, international cooperation. The exchange experts and another activities is very important, the communication all countries. The exit, the very important activities for education in another country is more important for Mexico, learning, experiment, and more cooperation. This is the important for Latin America region. Latin American now is only consumer science. It's the greater science. This is the big important.
And what about the collaboration internally? How is the private sector and the universities are working right now? Because that's something that you mentioned, Diego, and some of you mentioned also. Actually, a little bit everyone mentioned about this. But how is this collaboration, like also Vitor was mentioning? Is this happening? Is this happening because the universities are looking for the private sector, or the private sector looking for the universities, or the government is trying to bring them all together? What is happening in Panama, for example?
Well, first of all, I consider that in Panama, I have seen some work together between the private sector and the academia. However, I think that we need to improve a bit more the ecosystem that we have, including also the government, of course. This is like what comes first, the egg or the chicken? Because sometimes in Panama, if you look at the jobs required, the private sector is not looking for people with skills in artificial intelligence. So how can you force the university to prepare people with these skills if there is no demand for AI skills? So this is something that we need to work together. In this ecosystem, for instance, the open data, maybe it is a way to improve this ecosystem, because for instance, last year we had the first hackathon focused on AI. The winners used security data from Chicago, and it was they used this data with several machine learning models in order to for resource allocation. Where do you have to put, for instance, 20 police men based on the history, and where do you need to reallocate more policies on different zones of Chicago. And the question is why we are not doing this in Panama with our own data. This is because we still have data silos in the government, and how we can expect our students to cooperate, to learn with what is going on our own country if we don't provide these data sets. So the idea is to organize better what we have right now, to try to improve this ecosystem. Open data is one way. For instance, we currently are working on a project in order to go to 20 institutions in Panama and help them to identify which are the data sets that they have on their own institution that can add value for the citizens, for the academia. And I would like, for instance, in 1 year, say, go to the universities and say, hey, we have a robust open data portal. Let's go with the students. Let's make them use for their master thesis, for instance. So this is something that we need to work, but we already are already finding this path, but we still need more collaboration and external collaboration to see how all other countries have done this and don't make it in 5 years, but in 2.
That's good. If you think like the income inequality and the polarization of ideas in everywhere in the world, in the U.S., everywhere in the world, you think that is connected also with artificial intelligence and technology? Do you think it is a problem of not understanding technology that is bringing this polarization too, or do you think it's a way of thinking, like people are thinking, some governments are more thinking to the future, and some governments are looking more into the past and trying to grasp that past and don't move to the future? Do you think that's technology? Technology has a lot to do in this polarization and income inequalities in your countries?
Yes, let me answer the question related with the situation right now in our countries. For example, Chile,
Colombia,
Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia. Right now, today in Colombia, for example, the young people are mobilizing because they are not happy. Why? What is the reason for our young people is not happy with the situation that they have? And the question is, the technology will be solve the social problems in our countries? I believe that is a very important question, because in my view, the young people are seeing that is not a solution. What happened? Because they will have jobs in the future, or they will need skills to be empresarios, entrepreneurs. Yes? Which is the way, the best way for them? They are not happy. They don't have the solution of the health systems, education systems, transportation system, many problems. They are not seeing that the technology is solving those problems. Is problem of them, or is the government problem that has not be able to solve the problems with the technology quickly, because it's no the problem don't have to them time. They are living the problem. The young people are living the problem. For that reason, it's very important this forum, because we need to have solutions quickly for the young people that in this moment are not happy with the situation. They don't have help, they don't have solution of the health, they don't have educations opened, and I believe that is the real problem. No, it's not the technology, it's how the technology will be solved the problem that they have.
But there are some technologies like Darren Acemoglu, a professor from MIT in economics, he talks about these so-so technologies, that you create a technology that doesn't have really any benefit for anybody. Like who has called these telephones and a machine pick up the phone? It's so nice to hear a machine telling you push 1, push 2, and actually hate it. That is not creating better service for the consumer. It's not getting like any real benefit for the company. Why are we allowed to create those technologies? You just displace people, jobs, and the technology is not helping anybody. But we got that because, we have artificial intelligence, a phone that is going to answer to me. And we have other technologies that are helping to identify a tumor in an X-ray that is going to save hundreds of lives or thousands of lives. That's a high impact technology, artificial intelligence technology. Is the government should create policy for that? Is that going to help advance technology, or is it going to stop technology? Because some technologies are really not good at all. Like when I go to the supermarket, I don't like the self-serve cashier machines. Because if I have a question about the product, I cannot ask the machine. I need to find someone. Is that really creating a lot of profit to the company or not? Like I was in a few months ago, we had this hackathon about using AI to create companies. And one group of students were talking about creating this restaurant completely robotic. Like the robots were going to make the food, and the waitresses were going to be the servers. And they were discussing like for 5 hours. And at the end of the meeting, we came back to the table, and they decided to don't do it because they said machines are not going to be as creative as humans creating this food, and people like to discuss with the waitress. You want to ask questions, and you want to fight with the waitress if you don't like the dish. It's not worthy. We are not going to do it, but they lost 5 hours. Maybe they invested 5 hours to don't create a technology that was not going to serve humanity. Is this a policy thing that needs to happen in your governments? Also talking about what the people in the streets in Bolivia, in Colombia, in Chile, in Mexico, whatever, are facing. Is this something that the government needs to intervene? Yes, Leslie.
Yeah. I want to share some part of experience. As we have been opening tables for discussions, some people came up also with what kind of technologies can we apply to a digital government, or what kind of technology we can apply to help government helping people and so on. But it was really nice. Some people were very aware about like how AI can help our digital government, such as, chatbots to help people faster into some complaints and stuff, and some algorithms that will make search faster, so you kind of reduce the bureaucracy and stuff like that. So I think that's very useful. And as a government, I also feel it's not our own decision to like open doors and closing doors, but also it's important these tables to talk to people, to entrepreneurs, to people from university, private, public, to talk to other people with enterprises, and first try to be aware about the data, because I've been listening to the people, and seeing data is very important at this matter, because as I mentioned before, it would be really nice to know what's happening with health in my country according to the data, and how entrepreneurs, how business people, how universities can start working together. And I think their government is a nice complement to make them all work together. And in that matter, it would be nice to also define some policies, in the sense like we want to build technology human-centered. I mean, we know the realities of our countries. I know like most older people, they still like going queuing for some services, but younger people or younger generations, they just want to use a phone. So I think we need to differentiate these kind of levels, but not alone as government, but we need these activists with entrepreneurs, university people, and to start working together some delimitations about what technology we are building on. So not trying to close on innovation, or not trying to open it too much to discussions on ethics, but also to try to find a balance. I know it's hard, but I think we can prioritize some stuff and try to start moving on baby steps to see how it's going. And here I think it's very important as well to know from our neighbors, from our region as Latin America, what has been working so far in different countries that we were about to implement. Maybe that was not the right path, and maybe they gave us like some interesting experience that we can apply and also let them know what happened in Bolivia. So I think that cooperation is very important. And so far, trying to see different strategies in different Latin American countries. We have been also checking, for example, Mexico and Uruguay as examples. What they have been doing so far with the digital governments, as well as their strategies to first educate people on AI and trying to make this open data and trying to make this AI market.
As you said at the beginning, we are very bad at predicting the future. So I don't think that government should try predicting on what technologies will be good or not. And at the first presentation also, he said that the problem is not the technology, but what people do with the technology. And I think that's the government should think on how we better apply the technology and how we can promote positive outcomes of the technology and not make policies to close doors. For example, just the automated machines at the supermarkets, there are people who really like those automated machines because they are faster. Or an example, a couple of days in Chile, we had logistics seminars, and one question was, what happens with doctors when they operate people, surgeons? And half of the panel wanted to have the automated surgeon because it will be maybe better on some specific operations, but some other people in the same panel said they will always want a human to be there because they can ask them what happens. So I think that also perception on the technology is important, and that's why make people participate in the creation of the policy. In our case, this AI policy, it's very important. And about for example, all these protests that are happening in the case of Chile, as you said, and in different parts of Latin America, I think that AI has big opportunities, but at the same time, big risks. We have opportunities to improve the government itself. We have a lot of opportunities to improve bureaucracy, to bring better services to the people, and also to make the government closer to the people. One very, very important problem right now is trust. And I think that technology can help us bring people closer to the government and to enhance trust, and that's a really big opportunity. But at the same time, if people misuse technology, they can, for example, create this echo box and only see what they want to see, and technology will help them to see only what they want to see, and they won't be able to discuss with people that think differently. And that's a very, very big issue right now that I hope we will be able to solve it. So I think that what the government should do is first to improve what it's doing through technology and to get closer to people and to gain trust thanks to technology, and also try to educate, coming back again to education, people on first making them conscious that every time they took their mobile phones, they are using technology and AI-based technology, and people is not conscious of that. And from that to educate people on how to use very good technology, but that's something that has to be done together and to be and to make them part of the discussion. And that's why we are trying to do in our AI policies, to empower Chileans on the use of technology, but also on the participation of the discussion on ethics, for example. That's something that Latin America has been until now been left out of the discussion. It's mostly focused on Europe and the US, and now China is also starting to discuss that. And I think that Latin America has to be part of the discussion. What do we want with technology? And that's something important. But I don't think that government should try to predict the future, because I think that it might result in bad things.
I'm going to use a quick response, and then I'm going to open to the public to ask questions. Because you represent governments in this panel, if a government needs to create a public policy now, in which area the government should focus? Education, infrastructure, tax reform, whatever, for improving artificial intelligence or computer science, whatever. What is the public policy that you think now your government should take action now when you go back to your country, Mexico?
Mexico is the infrastructure, the net for all country is the priority. And I have two problems. And urban city is a smart city, is beneficial for innovation and new science. Artificial intelligence is very important for urban cities. Why? What do in the rural people? Well, the farmer what benefits of artificial intelligence. This is the big goal. Why go to rural for the benefits of artificial intelligence? First, infrastructure. 2, technology. 3, education. This is the goal.
Vitor, Brazil?
Digital transformation, I think that's the question. We focus on infrastructure, education, skilling the people, and artificial intelligence.
Luis, for Panama.
In my case, I think it will be education. We are a small country, so in terms of infrastructure and connectivity, we don't have that problem. We are supposed to have in 2024 the whole population connected to internet. So what I think is that at the end, the people is everything. If I don't have people, if I have all the technology, I won't use that technology. So I will go obviously for education.
Antonio?
Yeah, I will have to agree with education, but I want to say something on that. I think that if we go to education, we should be careful not only to focus on the higher education part, and nor the school part. We have all a middle section that usually we don't take care of. That's, for example, new technical profiles. I think that we don't need only PhD and masters. We can have a lot of people that can be benefit of this technology with shorter careers, and especially in our countries. And for example, we have an example of an NGO that it's educating people on AI in 6 months, and they are taking them to industry, and they are being very successful in Chile. So we have to look for those kind of projects and things. And I think that this has to be done not only by the government, but should be collaborating with universities and with the industry.
Yes, but the policy should be there. If not, the industry is not going to do it.
Yes. And in Colombia, also education and infrastructure, but since the view of the transformation digital in Colombia, the main objective is to create enabling conditions for the massification of the internet access. The goal is to increase to 11 million of the family, because if they don't have connections, they will don't access to better education, better healthy and everything.
Leslie, in Bolivia?
Well, I would also say on education, but as a process, in the sense that we want to educate more people, but we need them data to start developing more skills, and we need an AI place market. So I think that's a whole that we really need right now, as well as collaboration with other countries, and to do this across Latin America region, to educate, develop more skills, and to insert people into these jobs, because I think it's important to start working as well on data-driven decisions for different companies. That's gonna open up different jobs for more people.
Great. Okay, we are going to take questions from the audience. Please, if you have a question, they have microphones in both sides.
Hello, thank you all for sharing your thoughts and how government in your countries are performing in this field. I would like to ask you...
Can you say your name and where are you coming from?
Oh yeah, I'm Gisela Bellerano from Peru. I'm studying here in Binghamton University in the US in New York. I'm a PhD student. I would like to ask you about the metrics of the improvement of the field in the governments. What are some of the most important metrics in the field of AI in the governments? Or digital transformation? What are some important metrics that we may see in other countries to see if they can help us also to measure the improvement? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because if we don't measure what we are doing, that's...
In Brazil, we have a digital transformation strategy, and we have goals. Actually, we have 100 actions, and each actions we have some some marks points, and so we have to check these points every year, every month, something like that. Actually, the strategy from Brazil has the time for 4 years. So we have some actions in the first period of 2 years and the other ones in 2 years. So we have some marks to accomplish.
Anybody else has like a set of rules?
Yeah, it's a little bit similar. We are in a previous phase right now, but in our AI policy, we have like the long-term policy, and we are also building an action plan for the short and the middle term. And on the action plan, we are right now designing the objectives and the different metrics for those objectives. So we want to have like an ongoing plan that will be changing over time, since in some areas we need to do more diagnosis. In some areas we already have a concrete action. So we will have like a living process where we are having objectives and then updating those objectives.
Yes. Yes. Well, in Mexico, it's sectoral programs. For this government, it's 5 years more. The vertical programs is in industry, education, infrastructure, and transversal is more access for the people, the basic elements. The important people is rural. Well, this is the program government.
Colombia, like I commented before, the number of the family that will be connected in the next 3 years. To increase at 70% is close to 12 million of the families. Is a big indicator. The other is related with the transactions, digital transactions, is also to increase to close to 3 million of transactions per year. And the other is to increase the investment in related with the GDP to move from the 0.6% to 1.5% of the GDP to increase during the 3 years. It's close to 10 billion Colombian pesos. That's right. That.
Okay.
Well, yeah, in Bolivia we are working in our action plan and our policies, so on. But I would consider it would be really nice to see how many people are going to get educated on AI and how many people are going to be placed into AI jobs.
Okay, in Panama, what we have set is to have over 1,700 digital processes done digitally. Most of them are right now that you have to go to the institutions and do all over with a person from the institution with a public worker. So the path is to have more than 80% by 2024.
Next question.
I thank you for the opportunity. My name is Enrique Díaz-Cantón. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I'm a medical oncologist. And I was wondering if in your countries, if you have a signature of AI in your careers of medicine, law, because let me tell you, I'm facing the challenge this year of organizing the first mandatory signature in the career of medicine, in the Faculty of Medicine. And the dean was surprised because of my proposal, and he asked me to put the signature in a non-mandatory fashion. And so we can attract more people. So I'm seeing that we are very afraid of a thing that nowadays, I think in medicine at least, is a mandatory thing, because we are going to need to work with AI and not to be displaced by AI.
Before you go there, you can tell your director or that MIT is investing 1.1 billion in a bilingual education system.
Right.
Because we think that if the digital and the physical doesn't get together, it's not going to be a good future for anybody. Right now, if you come to MIT and you want to graduate from any school, humanities, architecture, science, anyone, you need to go to the School of Computing. You need to learn about programming, and you need to understand how the digital world works. If not, you cannot do it. If a small university is putting 1.21 billion, what your university or your hospital is going to be doing? Let's hear what are you doing.
In Brazil, we don't have a signature specific for AI and medicine, but in our strategy, we are studying ethics questions, issues about medicine. It's very important.
More and more, everyone is using it, no? Economists, doctors,
Yes.
Artists, everyone. Yes.
At this moment in Colombia, the Minister of Education has implemented since last year double titulation in the bachelor. It's academic bachelor and technological bachelor in the institution that is special for technological skills. Zerna in Colombia. It's double titulation.
It's fundamental. I think if in the systems that you are creating in your country, especially in public policy, this bilingual education should be a must, digital and physical. Then if you can include English, will be good too, until we start publishing everything in Spanish, like very good articles, and we start winning Nobel Prizes because our articles, then nobody's going to be reading our Spanish as much as we would like to.
Yeah, in the case of Chile, we don't have, that's something that the universities themselves are working on, but there are some initiatives, for example, in a couple of law schools that are integrating AI into law schools. But they're starting different initiatives in different universities, but that's something that is being discussed in different universities right now.
Yeah, and in one point also we need to think what are we going to do with our time when technology is helping us a lot with things that we are wasting time. Like I was talking with a Uber driver the other day from the Dominican Republic, and he was telling me, you know, just to renew my license, I need to spend a day and a half, because if I go to I get in line for 4 hours, and when I get in front of the person, if the person needs to go to lunch, he leaves or she leaves, and then I need to come back next day. They don't care. That cannot be happening anymore. No? What happens when we all government are digital and we don't need to spend all that time? What are we going to do with that time?
Yes. Hello, my name is Jovan Rebolledo. I was born in Mexico, but I lived in Japan since 2002. I have a question. I've been looking at the Japanese government that is looking at moonshot and the singularity in 2045, for instance. In each country, do they have specific plans for a long-term vision of the technological advances, specifically in AI, and how long each country is looking at from now to the future?
In Brazil, we are working on a national strategy for AI, and we have long-term politics about this.
In the case of Chile, we have first our AI that's looking in a long term also, but also the creation of the new Ministry of Science that's only a couple of months old. So it also aims to look at the future and to be able to anticipate on what's happening. So that's one of the missions of the ministry.
In Colombia also, we create the Minister of the Science and Technology last year, and we are in this moment to build a long-term policy for the science and technology. And I hope to participate and to create for at least 10 years.
Yeah, in Bolivia we are working on the strategy, not only for AI, but also related to blockchain and emerging technologies. And yeah, it's gonna be like long plan, but also with the, what's it called, the technology-based ministry, depending of education, we are still holding meetings with them.
In Panama, what we are doing is the creation of 22 offices of innovation in the most important ministries and other authorities in Panama in order to reinforce our plans in cybersecurity, data science, data governance, and so on. We would like this strategy to be much more than 5 years. Right now, we are in a diagnosis phase.
Well, in Mexico, it's CONACYT, the public organism of Science and Technology Policy. Public is the Minister of Education with the sector principal, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs is exchange international experience.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Last one.
Thank you. My name is Menaya Villasana. I come from Venezuela, Caracas, and I was very pleased to hear when you all said that the main goal should be, or one of the main objectives should be training, education at a higher level, but of course without looking at the lower level, the lower divisions, so smaller children. And I was wondering if you had, or if you were aware of any projects that involved artificial intelligence for the development or on education on those lower levels in your respective countries.
We don't have yet, but it's very important.
Not really, just searching about, for example, Singapore AI strategy, which is also very focused on children. I think it will be very important to apply it to our region.
Yeah, right now not specifically, but in Chile, something that have emerged in the discussion of the policy, for example, it's related to AI, is to how to teach children ethics about AI in a way to have children learn about ethics from very young. So that's one thing that's happening, and there are very little initiatives in different places, not coordinated, but for example, there are a couple of schools that are working heavily with robotics, and that's related also, and they use that as a vehicle to teach some other things, but nothing specifically.
In Colombia, we have a special program for the children. ONDA is the name, and we transform them to ONDA 4.0 in order to give this kind of skills and ethics, and mainly that the children need to introduce these technologies.
And as you know, here in the Media Lab, it was invented a Scratch for coding that is open, is free for everyone to learn about coding for all children. And the Scratch Junior, that is for children that do not know how to read yet. They can check that out too. It's completely free, and you have a lot of online support in all this area. The last question.
Yes.
We need to
Thank you.
the next one.
My name is Miguel Gonzalez. I'm a computer science professor at Tecnológico de Monterrey and former president of the Mexican AI Society. And the question is, as your government people, there's the initiative, the ELAC strategy, just for the intergovernment, action plans, or maybe more on the strategy sector, in order to enhance the information and communication technologies for our society. So, as a region, Latin America and the Caribbean, do you think there will be a special chapter for artificial intelligence for the development, not only on the strategical side, if you want, but more on the action plans just for the next 5 or 10 years? They lack,
I think the LAC is a very important forum for discussion about this theme, and I agree with you. Like Latin America, we have to be together and state some actions together. I think it's a very good idea to have a chapter specific for AI.
Yeah, I agree with Victor, especially since all the discussion on ethics and ethical frameworks and all of that, it's something that has been concentrated mainly in Europe and the US. And I think that's something that we as a region have to have a lot to say, especially because we have many differences in culture and reality with the ones that are until now leading the discussion.
The path will be much easier for all of us if we cooperate with each other. So we won't be left behind, because as we all know, Europe, USA, Canada, China are the top in this area, and we have to join us together. So all these chapters, all these integrations, of course, will be good, not only in artificial intelligence, but also cybersecurity and all other disciplines in computer science that are relevant not for the future, but also for the present.
Yes.
A different experience of foreign affairs is Alianza del Pacífico is a new chapter of the for science and technology, and this year Mexico is president of CELAC. We have 2 projects, spatial and nanoscience. This is the priority.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just in MIT, we believe that technology, actually, this was mentioned by the President Rife when we launched the study for the work of the future. I recommend you to go to mit.edu and look for work of the future and read the report. It's very, very interesting because it talks about this fear that people have around the world of technology and artificial intelligence to come and take out their jobs. But he was mentioning when he launched the study that first we believe that technology can be a force of good. Can we use technology to do good? And it is very important what we are doing in every country in the world. First, it's not a problem of one country. It is a problem of the whole humanity. Because whatever technology we develop is going to impact the society that we are going to be living on in the near future. We need to be very conscious about that. Whatever we do is going to impact the future of us, of all of us, not America or Brazil, Mexico, Bolivia, Colombia, Panama, Chile, whatever, everyone. That means that collaboration is a must. And everyone has been talking about collaboration. We need to keep collaborating. We need to keep open spaces. Nobody has the monopoly of knowledge. The knowledge is a commodity that humans created for the benefit of humanity. Share it. And we believe that technology is fundamental. Technology is going to keep moving. Technology is going to shape the future of the world that we are living right now. Let's make it with ethical principles, with a very conscious of ourselves that this is for the benefit of humans, not the machines, and let's make a better world together. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.